Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. Today we have some malicious compliance stories and our first story of the day is by Korrozyf. You know what? Call the cops. I live in a completely unsoundproofed flat with my wife and kid. We sadly discovered it after moving in because the neighbors weren't there when we visited. Crap happens. As every occupant was aware of it and we all had small kids, we agreed upon having 3 rules. Noise kept to a minimum between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. on weekends. Same goes starting from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. all days. Warn at least the day prior if you plan a party. Doesn't mean total silence at all, just not using power tools or blasting music or talking way above normal volume, etc. It went quite okay for 2.5 years, but then the above us neighbors moved. They got replaced by a father in his mid-40s and his son about 25 years old. After welcoming them, we warned about the sound issue and the rules to help everyone have quiet time. They said okay and thanks for the warning. Few days goes and the dad brings over his girlfriend. He's divorced. They banged all night. Was making me laugh. But around 1 a.m. that lady started singing. So I went upstairs for a very awkward conversation. I just told the out-of-breath sir that again, the building had no soundproofing and that singing at 1 a.m. was a bit too much after that long evening and we would really like to sleep now. He went as red as possible and we exchanged few words just saying nobody's mad but that the sound issue is very real. After that it was okay. But as he realized how much that issue was real, he started going to his girlfriend's place on weekends. And his sons started bringing friends over more frequently. We learned he has not 1, but 3 sons, so 2 of them aren't supposed to live with him regularly. Anyway, as they invited friends over, it was always in party mode. No respect at all for the rules. I went upstairs approximately 10 times in a few months because we were fed up being obliged to sleep with earplugs and having our kid naps ruined. I finally decided to talk about this to their father. He was not happy about his sons and told me he'll talk to them, but also was a bit discouraged and tried to tell me, if necessary, call the cops. I wasn't willing to do so because I'm more about peaceful solutions and told him that it won't keep cool relations in the building. First lockdown came to my country. All neighbors decided to flee elsewhere. We had the building for ourselves. That was a great help for our nerves and sleep. We rediscovered what it was to live without noise. End of lockdown, few incidents but enough to make my wife and I so mad at those kids that we weren't talking anymore but screaming at them. Then one of them told me, "You know what? Call the cops." I didn't do it that time as they shut their noise afterwards. Second lockdown started about 2 weeks ago. No neighbors moved that time except for their dad. As soon as he left, we heard more noises than average above us, but not enough to trigger us at first. The second day we realized there were at least 5 young adults in that flat, and they started partying. Not loud music, but music anyway. Talking loud to each other from both ends of the flat, clanging chairs, slamming doors until 1 or 2 a.m. each night. We hoped they'll leave soon or at least calm down, but not at all and no sign of the dad. 10 days in, our cup was more than full. We went upstairs to again tell them to stop making so much noise and that it was the last warning. The day after that, same story. I was furious. I screamed at them to shut their music right now, 11 p.m., and that their friends had to leave by tomorrow or I'll make sure to call the cops. "Oh, just call the cops. Nobody's moving. We live together as co-renters." Oh, really? I called the cops. Lockdown is in effect. You can be with family, sure, but not with friends like that and knowing the building's landlord. I was sure their situation wasn't official at all. Cops came, told them the brothers could stay, but the friends had to go back to their place. They gave no fine for this time, but they had to make sure I would not have to call them again. They told me to not go see the neighbors if it happens again, but directly call them back. The next morning, we also decided to call the landlord to explain the situation. No father in sight for 10 plus days, at least 3 unknown persons living there with 2 family members, lots of noise every day and nights, refusing to make any effort and claiming to be co-renters. Landlord wasn't happy. Told me I was right to call the cops and to warn him about the rent situation. He told me he'll call their father right away. Same day, late afternoon, I started to hear some movements above. People running left and right. Just before dark, I was pleased to see those 5 young adults with their luggage exiting the building and going towards the train station. Cherry on the cake, I saw one of them giving the finger behind them in the building's direction. I laughed so hard. Calm night with a smile on our faces. Let me ask you guys, if you found yourself in this kind of situation and they were making noise issues a couple times and you explained that to them, but they just kept doing it, would you be a little bit more lenient like OP was, or would you just go straight to calling the cops? Let me know in the comments down below. This next story is by MontezMahal, May I Suck Your Succulent. So I worked for this torturous company that was killing me slowly. Sort of like a Venus flytrap, but worse. The company gave out demerit points for rules that were broken. For instance, if you forgot to put a cover on your coffee mug, 2 demerit points. If you forgot your gate card, 1 demerit. If you exceeded 5, you attended an hour-long video explaining the company's demerit system while sitting next to a freakster from HR. Demerits were erased every year on your hiring date, giving you back your squeaky clean slate. No doubt, these rules were originally intended for the penal system aptly named penal. Let's say you were getting 6 months of weekly allergy shots. You would be required to bring in individual doctor's notes, 1 per visit. I made the horrific mistake of thinking my doc could write 1 note stating, Monty will be receiving 6 months of treatment starting on September 8th, once weekly, saving the embarrassment of asking for a note at every visit like an a-hole. 3 demerits for breaking the doctor's note rule. Newt was a dumb old thing who was reluctantly placed in HR as a last resort. Newt collected medical notes and kept track of demerits, earning him the name Demerit Dong. Dong had it out for me, ever since I came up with his nickname, but he hated me more for dodging demerits and pushing the envelope as far up his butt as possible. The only thing that pleased Dong more than demerits was his nutty office plant collection. Dong would tell you all about his beloved juniper bonsai as he made out with a pot of brown-eyed Susans. Monday, I hand Dong my doctor's note. 6 months of allergy shots starting September 8th, once weekly. He accepted the note and went back to massaging his spider plant. The very next week, Dong notifies me I have 3 demerits. What the freak? I storm into Dong's office. He was tending to his mini cactus trio. I wave a copy of my note. The jerk opens the rule book and points to a line stating that an individual note must be presented for each medical visit. Dong finally got me, and that was the end of that. Or was it? Dong asked me what I was allergic to. He chuckles, gets up, and starts fingering his fern. I know darn well he reads every note in my file. For this very reason, I always insert a strange medical condition or affliction on every single note. It was just a little tidbit of satisfaction against the dickety-dong. Pica was my latest affliction. Pica, an abnormal desire to eat substances such as dirt, chalk, or ash, not normally eaten. Fast forward, I get a promotion. However, due to lack of office space during renovations, I get to share a temporary space with Dong and all his plant children for the next 9 cozy months. No options, no other place to move to, and I was ready. Dong's day would start by finding strategically placed spoons in the dirt of random potted plants. I would say things to Dong like, "Man, I would like to take a suck of that succulent. I have a great recipe for that juniper bonsai. Is that air plant salt-free?" Watching my intake. Some days I would ask him these questions through a dirt-stained upper lip. Finale, although it was easy, I got Dong to admit he could have cleared my demerits by resubmitting paperwork back to HR. But Dong chose not to do so. Instead, he told me to go prove it. Sounds easy enough. I simply explained to the head of HR, Newt was a great office mate, but I had allergies and a special condition aggravated by any plant that required dirt. All my medical notes were on file to prove it. Due to the fact that all of HR hated Dong too, it took all of 5 minutes. And so the story ends. Dong had to take all his plant babies home until after the move that turned out to be over a year. Dong put up a weak fight, accused me of being a plant molester. I told Dong to go prove it. Thin. I love that in this story, it is no holds barred on OP's hatred for the HR person here. I really never thought plants could be so sexualized before, but here we are. This next story is by Fluffydeathbird. A contractor paid by our agency said she wished she could talk with our director about his stupid policies. I was more than happy to help. I used to work at the front desk of a Department of Social Services, DSS. Our DSS hosts monthly FAPT meetings where families can get funding for services if their kids have special needs. The family and service providers come to the meetings to give progress updates. Visitors are only allowed to enter if they wear the approved visitor badge and have someone from our agency escorting them back. A service provider was there for an FAPT meeting, so I had her sign in and I gave her a visitor badge. She said, "I don't need that. My work badge says who I am." I said, "You do need that if you want to go inside." She huffed, rolled her eyes, and put on the visitor badge. She said, "Well, I'm wearing your badge, open the door." I told her she needed to wait until the people running the meeting were ready to come get her. She argued, "What is the point of me wearing this badge if I can't walk back by myself? You're saying I need to wear a special badge and then I still need to be escorted back? That doesn't make any sense." I told her it was our agency's policy and disputing agency policy was above my pay grade. I said, "You would need to talk to the agency director if you have an issue with our policies." She said in a nasty voice, "I wish I could because your policies are stupid." Since she said she wished she could talk to the director about how stupid his policy is, I decided to let her have her wish. I called the director at his desk and I informed him that Miss X of X agency wished to speak with him as soon as possible. I had her information from her signing in. I told him that she wished to address a grievance about our policy regarding visitors from other agencies. I mentioned some of the things she had said and told him she was rude and confrontational with me. He came out and pulled her aside. I don't know exactly what was said, but she looked like she was about to cry when they were done talking. Yeah, you have a lot of courage and bravery and a lot of argumentative talk when you're talking to a lowly peon on the scale, but when the big agency director got called into it, her tail went between her legs and she went off crying, so got called out pretty hard on their bluff. This next story is by Nikkobifch CH. Change for a 20? I can't. The other day, right after shift change at my job, counting the register, then dropping all of the extra money into a safe, a kid asked me for change for a 20. It's important to mention that this was a Sunday and we hadn't gone to the bank due to it being closed. We even had a sign out saying, "Please pay with 5s and 10s if you have them." I told him I couldn't break the 20 right now and that he needed to go somewhere else or come back in a couple hours when I had gathered more money. Instead, he came back with the same 20 and a pack of gum. Smart kid. I still don't have enough 5s or 10s to break this 20, so I gave him his change in 1s. Have a nice day, cunning little crap. I applaud your quick thinking. If you're going to a register for change and they say that they barely have enough money to cover that break, you're not going to actually want it because it's going to be either a bunch of 1s or you're not going to be allowed to act surprised when they start breaking out the quarters, nickels, and dimes. And our final story of the day is by CrazyCoKids. How my grandfather engaged in malicious compliance. So, for reference, this takes place a very long time ago, like the 60s. This is in Germany. My aunt was 16, so my grandfather took her out to get beer so they could drink. However, alcohol was not allowed on base at the time. I don't know if this rule still carries over. So when he and my aunt were returning, the guards told them that he couldn't take the beer on base. So he chugged both the bottles right in front of them, since he was technically off base and thus allowed. To clarify, these weren't like 1 or 2 liter bottles, and they were about half full / half empty. These were small bottles that were being marketed at 16 to 17-year-olds, so it was probably also watered down. I know this is like the smallest detail in the story for me to latch onto, but I kinda really like how OP mentioned half full / half empty. It just made me think about the saying about optimism, you know. It just made me think about that saying about optimism, you know, glass half full, half empty. Also, I've got a story like this. Okay, it's not nearly as cool. I had a Mountain Dew at the airport and you can't bring it through the scanners with you, so you had to just chug it right before you got to the scanners. Okay, it's not as cool as a story, I know. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So, which of these stories was your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing and turn notifications on if you haven't so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Any little thing that you do helps the channel grow so much more. Whether it's commenting, subscribing, or just watching the video, thank you all so very much for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time, right here on the Storytime channel.